on some details I'll bring you in just a moment. We'll also have more details as they become available. As you can see in El Paso, Texas, President Trump only moments away from taking the stage as this life-death fight over border security appears to be making some progress. We're going to take you live to the president's speech as soon as that happens. But first, let's set the stage with our Hannity watch on these very wall negotiations that have been ongoing. Now, for days, Democrats, they've just been up to their old tricks, once again playing politics, trying to torpedo border security talks with what is an outrageous demand, actually aimed, think about this, at curtailing the effectiveness of ICE. We know they want to abolish it in the end, but over the weekend, we learned Democratic negotiators, look at this, they were pushing for an arbitrary cap on the number of illegal immigrants that ICE would be allowed to detain at one time. And the Democrats, they wanted to set the cap at only 16,500 individuals. In other words, if capacity exceeds that number for any reason, unvetted, unverified, undocumented illegal immigrants would essentially pour free into the United States, and border enforcement would be powerless to stop them. Even criminals, those with violent track records, gang ties, cartel ties, would all be free to enter the country illegally and not face any kind of immigration detention. Now, keep in mind, look at the last 2 years alone. 266,000 arrests of criminal aliens have been carried out, including 100,000 assault charges, 30,000 sex crimes charges, 4,000 murder, homicide charges. And as we speak, nearly 180,000 illegal immigrants live right here in the U.S., including some of those violent felons. They are already facing removal orders. But Democrats, they want to cap ICE detention at 16,500. Well, that's insane, because let's say 16,501. What if it turned out to be a murderer, a rapist, part of a drug cartel? As President Trump, he's been calling for more funding, more resources, more security to tackle the scourge of drugs, gang violence, human trafficking, sex trafficking of young girls. And more Democrats seem content with trying to make border security, what, more difficult? Now, look, the president's fighting this as it is, a life and death issue. This is about your family's safety and security first. Democrats, once again, playing just pure politics. It's pretty outrageous. They seem to hate Donald Trump, that is more important to them based on their actions than your security, your family's security, more important than DACA, dreamers, even furloughed employees that they claim to care so much about. You know, these are the things they say they wanted just a few short years ago in Obama's second term. They were advocating the same policies Donald Trump is now pushing hard for. As Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell put it, in the Democratic Party, the radicals, as I've been saying, the radical, extremist, new socialist Democratic Party, they're running the show. Take a look.
This is a poison pill that no administration, not this one, not the previous one, would or should ever accept. Imagine the absurdity of this. House Democrats want to set a limit on how many criminal aliens our government can detain. This is where some Democrats are. A get-out-of-jail-free card for criminals because the radical left doesn't like U.S. immigration and customs enforcement.
Now, for months, we told you the radical extreme left has consumed the Democratic Party. Now we're watching, what, open borders, that agenda play out in real time. They want to eliminate ICE. But Americans now are waking up and waking up very, very quickly and seeing how extreme this new Democratic Socialist Party is. Now, the president's approval rating, look at this, his highest point in 2 years. Look at after his State of the Union, CBS Evening News poll, 72% of the American people approved of the president's State of the Union remarks about immigration. So, by the way, if you're a Republican, especially in the Senate, we'll talk to Lindsey Graham tonight, you know, it's time for you to take a stand. Do your job and actually fulfill your promises and stop being so afraid of ever being courageous. Keep your promises to the American people. And we'll see, because if they did that, we'd be safer. And as more details about this compromise become available, Here's the bottom line. If you are a Republican senator or House member and you're too weak to take a stand, then it's probably time for you to retire. Go home. Let somebody who's willing to fight take your place. And if Democrats, they continue to stonewall, play politics with national security, drugs coming into the country, in this brand new deal that we'll find out more about, the president will have no choice. He will veto this and declare a national emergency. Why? Because as commander-in-chief, the president has a lot of perfectly legal options for building the wall, including, look at this, 10 U.S.C. 284. That gives the president the authority to complete the, quote, construction of roads and fences and installation of lighting to block drug smuggling corridors across international boundaries of the United States. By the way, a fence can be defined a million ways. And, of course, the primary smuggling corridors into the U.S. are right there at our southern border. That's where 90% of the heroin in this country comes from, those borders. And that means that helps put an end to the opioid epidemic in this country. So tonight, Congress has two options. They do their jobs, they agree on a compromise that doesn't weaken border security, or they can do nothing, and they can get left behind. Because the wall, I predict, is going to be funded and going to be built. I believe the president is unrelenting, tenacious, and is doing everything and will do everything in his power to keep his promise, get this done, even declaring a national emergency, which may even happen this week. And if that's what it takes, fine. That's what it takes. He took an oath to protect this country. Do you not want to be protected and more secure? Do we want to stop the cartels, the gangs, MS-13, human traffickers, drug traffickers, those that we haven't vetted that may bring harm to our fellow Americans? And we look forward to seeing what this agreement entails. I'm very dubious. And also, of course, when far-left radicals inside the Democratic Party, when they're calling the shots, like Congresswoman Omar, well, negotiations are probably likely to break down. Remember when she publicly accused border security officials of torturing refugees, or when the first caravan came and we had Border Patrol having to use tear gas to protect themselves from rocks and bottles being thrown at them? Remember, they were accused of gassing children. Well, tonight in our Hannity Watch on the radical, extreme Socialist Democratic Party, we're seeing yet another sad, extreme chapter unfolding before our eyes, again surrounding Congresswoman Omar. For a group that constantly tries to claim the moral high ground on everything, now the Democratic, modern, extreme, radical party has an anti-Semitism that is now running amok inside that party. Look at this over the weekend. Omar was lampooned for a series of anti-Semitic tweets pushing a conspiracy theory, quote, that Jewish money was behind support for America's closest ally in the Middle East, the only democracy there. She tweeted that it was, quote, all about the Benjamins. Now, after some pressure from some inside her own party, she's, quote, apologizing for offending Jewish Americans. The problem is this is nothing new. Oh, they know who she is. They know what she has said in the past. She's been totally obsessed with hating Israel for a long time. Once tweeting, no apology, Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. And sadly, Omar is not the only Democrat with anti-Semitic ties. In 2006, her colleague, Congresswoman Tlaib, authored an op-ed for the Nation of Islam's publication. It's called The Final Call. Remember, this is Louis Farrakhan's paper. And Farrakhan frequently refers to Jews as satanic, termites, and worse. Also once said that Hitler was a very great man and that Jews were responsible for 9/11. This is a sick, ugly, despicable anti-Semite. And those that write for that paper associating with him, like Congresswoman Tlaib, well, it's not a good look for a sitting congresswoman to start with. Now, it comes also as other prominent Democrats are facing many of their own scandals involving race. Look at the Commonwealth of Virginia. Disgraced Democratic Governor Ralph Northam. He is digging himself into an even deeper hole amid continued calls to step down following a racist yearbook photo and his admitted use of blackface in the 80s. And after vowing to stay in office to promote racial healing. Really? Then the governor said this over the weekend when he was talking about Virginia's slave past. Listen closely to what he says.
If you look at Virginia's history, we're now at the 400-year anniversary. Just 90 miles from here, in 1619, the first indentured servants from Africa landed on our shores in Old Point Comfort, what we call now Fort Monroe. And while
also known as slavery.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, while we have made a lot of progress in Virginia, slavery has ended. Schools have been desegregated. We have ended the Jim Crow laws, easier access to voting. It is abundantly clear that we still have a lot of work to do.
Now, Northam's remarks during this entire saga have shown his deep, deep disconnect with the people of his state, who certainly deserve better. Indentured servants, really? Unfortunately, the top three leaders in Virginia, they're all embroiled in scandal. That includes the Democratic Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax. He is refusing to step down after two very serious allegations of violent sexual misconduct. And in one case, he's accused of rape. And by the way, the person making the accusation has many people that she told at the time backing up her story. But staff members are reportedly now quitting, refusing to work for the embattled Lieutenant Governor. By the way, where are all those I believe senators? We're going to keep you updated on the latest developments. And, of course, the scandal in Virginia, it all started with Governor Northam's radical position, where he actually advocated for out and outright infanticide. Remember, he said, well, first we'll deliver the baby and make the baby comfortable, and then we'll let the mother decide if there's going to be any medical assistance for the baby. Really? That bill legalizing abortion even during the birthing process after 9 full months. This is infanticide. Pretty sick stuff. And tonight, that is only one in a long list of radical positions of this new extreme radical Democratic Socialist Party, including many who are now running for the nomination to be president in 2020 for their party. Which brings us tonight to our Hannity Watch on the extreme 2020 Democrats. We'll start with New Jersey Senator Spartacus Cory Booker, comparing the Green New Deal to going to the moon and defeating the Nazis. And Booker's talking about Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's bizarre, horrific new piece of legislation. Now, let's see. That would plan the end of consumption of fossil fuels in 10 years. By the way, the planet's going to die in 12 years. What's the point? By the way, and seriously, don't write off Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez and her grandiose and disastrous plans. She is merely just saying and acting on what Democrats really believe, but try and hide from you. Look at all of those Democrats now coming out in support of this Green New Deal, which calls for no more oil, no more gas, no more fossil fuels of any kind, not even any nuclear energy. And it doesn't stop there. This bill that would eliminate airplanes, gas-powered automobiles and trucks, gas-powered ovens and stoves. By the way, if you like steak, no more cows, too much flatulence. And they commit CO2 emissions. No more cows. You better load up on your steak and put it in a freezer. And get this, her proposal also plans literally to remodel, rebuild, retrofit every single building in America to meet these insane new energy efficiency standards of hers. And it gets worse. According to her office, every American is guaranteed a job and a salary. By the way, whether or not they're willing to work or not, although they're trying to back down on that part of it. You're talking about guaranteed health care, guaranteed jobs, guaranteed vacations, trillions and trillions and trillions in new taxes. 70% tax rate is just the beginning for her. And for those of us who are willing and able to work, well, but that is just one part of the Democrats' insane push to radicalism, this new platform. Look at Elizabeth Warren. She wants a brand new tax on wealth. You know, that means your savings. That's money that has already been taxed. After you pay 50, 60 cents of every dollar, if you manage to save anything, she wants another bite at the apple. And by the way, 40% when you die. They want another bite at the apple. Another 10% if you live in New York. They want half again. You pay to die in America. Senator Kamala Harris wants to end all private insurance. 187 million Americans wiped out of their private insurance. And by the way, to put in place a government-run health care system called Medicare for All. Kirsten Gillibrand also says the same. No more private insurance. Listen, they're now more socialist than their crazy cousin Bernie from Vermont. And Senator Gillibrand also wants to completely abolish ICE, as do others. This is the party of higher taxes, open borders, eliminating ICE, late-term abortion, and government control of all industry and every aspect of your life. They're going to take away all your insecurities, and they're going to promise you health care and housing and daycare and college and a job and a vacation. Okay. And then they're going to nationalize the energy industry. How did that Obamacare thing work out? Keep your doctor, keep your plan, and save less. In other words, they want to take capitalism, the very system that is the envy of the world, that has lifted more people out of poverty than any other system in history, and flush it all down the toilet with no hope of ever getting it back, destroying the single best wealth-producing structure in the history of man. Even poor people in America, compare them and their lives in most cases. If you're not homeless, you know, do they have running water? Do they have toilets? Do they have kitchens? Do they have refrigerators, freezers? Are they able to cook? I've been to some of the poorest housing projects in America. I've been inside. So ask yourself, are those values that will make America great? Are those values that will improve your life at all? Do you think anybody with money is going to stay here? They're going to leave like they're leaving New York, New Jersey, Illinois, and California in droves, tens and tens of thousands a year. 400,000 new residents in Texas and Florida. No state income tax. All right, as you can see, we're awaiting the president. Joining us now first, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. All right, Senator, over the weekend they were going to cap to 16,500 the number of people ICE can detain. We hear now there might be a breakthrough. I don't trust it. I don't believe it. What do you know?
I know the president will never sign a bill that caps bed space for violent offenders because that's crazy, it's dangerous, and you'll incentivize more illegal immigration. The Democratic Party doesn't want to build a wall, and apparently if you come into the country legally and we catch you, they don't want to hold you. So other than that, they're in a good spot on border security.
Okay. Do you know what this quote breakthrough is?
No, I don't, but I know what cannot be in it. You cannot have a cap on bed space. This is interior detention. When we catch you inside the country, there's bed spaces for people caught at the border. But if we catch you inside the country, like in New York, the MS-13 gangs, this is where we catch most of the criminals. They get through the border. They get themselves, integrated into the country. We've been deporting thousands of gang members. This would deny us the bed space to hold them until they're deported. It is a dangerous concept. The president will not agree to it. To get more wall money to limit bed space is a bad, dangerous deal.
All right, let's talk about U.S. 284, which I was discussing earlier. Language is clear. I've read the statute. First pointed out to me by Senator Lee, your colleague, Mike Lee of Utah. The language that I put up on the screen is crystal clear. The president has the right to do this, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we've allocated money to deal with drug corridors. But there's also language in the appropriations bill where you can move around $4 billion inside the Department of Defense in the discretion of the Secretary and the President. So there's well over $4 billion available to the President under current law, in addition to what the Congress will give him in this deal. So I would assume that he would take the money in the deal. It won't be enough. It'll be well short of 5.7, and do what we've talked about to make up the difference between the appropriated amount and the 5.7.
The president, by the way, is now just stepped out. He's not being introduced. He stepped out to the crowd. He is in El Paso, Texas. Let me ask you this. Do you agree with me that based on the president's commitment to keeping his promise that he will use 284, the military, and as he said today, he is building the wall already. I believe he really has no choice at this point. Your thoughts? And I believe he'll do it the next week.
Number one, he has to do it because the need is real. The amount of money given will not be $5.7 billion, but it will be a down payment. He has to go find the money in other ways. He has to do it on his own. And I think he'll declare a national emergency because he needs to define this issue that way. What
do you make of this new radical Democratic Party that we're seeing? Late-term abortion, high taxes, redistribution, free, free, free?
Well, it'll get so free nobody can afford it. Let's put it this way. making America great again is a noble quest for any party. What they're trying to do is basically destroy America as we know it. America is great because you can come from anywhere and everywhere. You can be born in the back of a liquor store. You can wash dishes like you did and have your own TV show. They'll destroy innovation.
By the way, you
destroy...
were born in the back of the bar in the liquor store, so people may not know that part of you.
Yeah, I was, and I'm the first in my family to go to college, and my mom and dad worked hard. We own a liquor store, a restaurant, a bar, and a pool room. And every day you went to work, and if you didn't go to work, you didn't get paid. So that's the America I grew up in, and that's the America I'd like to pass on. And if we don't win this election in 2020... I don't know, we got to share stories, because I was washing
dishes every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, and there wasn't a machine by hand, and that included pots and pans, until 2 a.m. every Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Senator, the president, as you can see, is about to take to the podium. You predict, as I do, though, it will be a national emergency.
I think he has to declare a national emergency to my Republican colleagues. Have his back on this. For God's sakes, have the president's back.
We need secure borders. The president's fighting for life and death, safety and security. Let's go to El Paso, Texas.
Thank you very much, El Paso. Thank you very much. Thank you. I am very, very thrilled to be here in the great state of Texas. Right on the banks of the legendary Rio Grande, where, by the way, dude, I don't know, you heard, right? Today, we started a big, beautiful wall right on the Rio Grande. Right smack on the Rio Grande. I love this state, and I love the people of this state. We've had a great romance together, you know that. It's been a great romance. And we're only getting stronger together. That's what's happening. Wow, look at all the press back. You believe that? This is like the Academy Awards used to be. They've gone down a long way since they started hitting us a little bit, right? They've gone down. That was a long fall, but there they are. Last week I was honored to stand in the House chamber to deliver the State of the Union. And I asked both parties to come together to choose greatness for America. Since taking office 2 years ago, our economy is now the hottest economy anywhere on earth. Our military, which desperately needed funding, we went $700 billion, and $716 billion is more powerful than ever before. That was not a good situation. It was tired and depleted. Our great warriors were not taken care of. Now they're taken care of again the way they should be. And America is winning again. Isn't that nice? We're fighting for all Americans from all backgrounds, of every age, race, religion, birthplace, color, creed. We're fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for all Americans. And what is it? America first. Remember, it's America first. Our agenda is not a partisan agenda, although some people say it is. Every once in a while it does become that way, right? It's a mainstream, common sense agenda of the American people. It's where we want to be and where we want to go. And despite the fact that the media refuses to acknowledge what we've done and how well we're doing it, a new poll just came out as I was coming on, and it shows, I don't know how you can do this. I don't think I've had a good story in years. I don't get good press. I used to get great press until I decided to run for office. And we have done together an incredible job. And a new poll just came out today. Rasmussen, one of the most respected polls, one of the polls that got the election right. So I have to remember that. You know what the number is? 52% with no good news. Explain that. Explain that. Explain that. How do you get that when you don't get good press? I guess 93% of the stories are negative. No matter what we do, they figure out a way to make it negative. Like, I'll give you a quick example. When I came in, North Korea looks like it was going to war. You know that. It was going to happen, bad things. Now, you have no missile launches. You have no rocket testing. You have no nuclear testing. I have a good relationship, maybe even a great relationship. We have tremendous sanctions on North Korea. But we have our hostages back. We have remains are coming back. Remains. And our presidents have been dealing with North Korea for many, many decades, many, many decades. And on a nuclear way over the last 20, 30 years. And all I hear is, can't you move faster? You know what? I left Singapore 15 months ago. They've been negotiating for 85 years or something. So now their complaint is, what's taking them so long? I heard one of our great geniuses from a previous administration telling me how to negotiate with North Korea when they got taken advantage of like nobody I've ever seen before. So someday, with all of us, this is all of us, and those hats are beautiful, by the way, someday, true, someday, they're going to appreciate us all, and I'm going to Vietnam, to Hanoi, in the near future, 27th and 28th of February, to have another summit. And hopefully we do as well with the second summit as we did with the first. I hope so. Now, we're delighted, and I'm delighted, to be joined this evening by the Texas leaders. You have great leaders, great people, great help to me that are at the forefront of this incredible American revolution. You know, there's never been anything like this in the history of our country. We have to understand that. There's never been. If you would say, as an example, that tonight 69,000 people signed up to be here. Now, the arena holds 8,000. And thank you, Fire Department. They got in about 10. Thank you, Fire Department. Appreciate it. But if you want to really see something, go outside. Tens of thousands of people are watching screens outside. And we were all challenged by a young man who lost an election to Ted Cruz. And then they said, you know what? Hey, you're supposed to win in order to run. By the way, we, I'm 1 and 1. I'm 1 for 1. Think of it. We had one election, we won. Now we're going to be 2 for 0, and everything's going to be perfect. But a young man who's got very little going for himself, except he's got a great first name. He challenged us. So we have, let's say, 35,000 people tonight, and he has 200 people, 300 people. Not too good. In fact, what I would do is I would say that may be the end of his presidential bid, but he did challenge it. So I want to introduce some great people. Your governor, Greg Abbott. Where is he? Where's Greg? Thank you, Greg. And a great governor, and a great friend of mine. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Thanks, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Look at him in the corner. So shy. Thank you, Dan. Great job, Dan. Attorney General Ken Paxton. Thanks, Ken. And Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller. Thank you, Sid. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Ken. Great job you do. And we're especially grateful to your wonderful senators, John Cornyn and Ted Cruz. Great senators. And we have a lot of your congressmen and women. We have a lot of them. You're ready, and they're terrific, and they've been with us all the way. Pete Olson. Pete. Thanks, Pete. Thank you, Pete. Michael Burgess. Thanks, Michael. John Carter. Brian Babin. And Randy Weber. Thank you very much. We are in the midst of an economic miracle. That's what's happened. You look all over the world and you study and you see what's going on. You can look at China. We have a team right now in China. They want to make a deal very badly. Those tariffs are costing them a lot of money, and they're going into our treasury. Remember that. We're filling up with billions of dollars. And did you see I haven't been here very long, the trade deficit really went down very big this last month. And people are saying, whoa, I told you so. That's what I do. That's what I do. And we don't want China to have a hard time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can only tell you this. We're going to make great deals on trade. We're going to make great deals on military. When we defend another nation that's rich, they have to help us out. Do we agree? They have to help us out. And they're doing it. They're doing it. You saw South Korea? They were paying us $500 million a year. I say, you got to do more. You got to do more. Anyway, now they're up to almost $900 million. That was like on 2 phone calls. I said, why didn't they do this before? They said, nobody ever asked. Nobody asked. You pick up almost $500 million a year. Nobody asked. We're defending rich countries. They've got to help us out, folks. They got to help us out. Sorry. And you know what? They're going to like us more, and maybe more importantly, they're going to respect us. Since the election, we have created 5.3 million new jobs, including more than 500,000 new manufacturing jobs. Remember, manufacturing was dead. They said manufacturing was dead. Previous administration, you'll never have it. You need the magic wand. That's what they said. We found the magic wand. And by the way, those numbers are small compared to what's happening, compared to all of the companies that are moving in. The unemployment. Thank you very much. The unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans have reached the lowest level in the history of our country. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You all right? Everything okay? Please? Okay, thank you. Thank you. And women have filled almost 60% of the new jobs created last year, which were a record number. We passed massive tax cuts for working families, and we canceled a record number of job-killing regulations. That's why your oil and gas is coming back. We eliminated the Obamacare individual mandate. And to give critically ill patients access to life-saving treatments, we did something that they haven't been able to do for a long time. We passed Right to Try. Right to Try. That's an incredible thing, Right to Try. You know, we have the greatest doctors and research in the world. And if somebody was terminally ill, they travel to Asia, they travel to Europe, they travel all over the world if they had the money. If they didn't have the money, they'd just go home. There was nothing they could do. And I said, wait a minute, we have drugs in the pipeline that are showing tremendous progress. If somebody is terminally ill, let's let them have access to our drugs. Let's let them have access. And it's much tougher than you would think, but we got it. And people, you will not understand, nobody understand the life-saving effects. It's incredible what's going on. They are getting better. People are getting better that were thinking they were going to die. It's Right to Try. I love it. I always wondered why we didn't do it before. Now, the people in Texas won't care much about this, but the United States is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas on Earth. I didn't think you'd care about that. I didn't think Texas would care about that. And listen to this. And Texas oil production is now at the highest level it's ever been. And only for the great oil professionals in the room, we're getting those pipelines approved so fast, you'll be able to practically double up on oil production, oil and gas. They're getting approved at record levels and record time. That means more money, more security, and more independence for our country. It's very simple. Another one they said could never get passed. They've been trying to do it for 40 years. We passed VA choice, Veterans Choice. So that now, rather than waiting online for 5 days, for 9 days, for 3 weeks, where do these people come from? Where do they come from? They go back home to mommy. They get punished when they get home. Now, you really mean finish that wall, because we built a lot of it. Finish that wall. But before we get to the wall, so VA accountability and VA choice. Accountability, we couldn't fire anybody from the Veterans Administration. We couldn't fire anybody. They could treat our veterans badly. We had to take it. Now, you get rid of them. And VA choice, they'd wait online for days and weeks. They couldn't see a doctor. Now they go out, they have a choice. They get a private doctor. They have things taken care of, and we paid their bill. They've been trying to get those two things fixed for many, many decades, many years, and we got it fixed. We also passed the Farm Bill for our wonderful farmers, ranchers, and growers. We just got it passed. And that wasn't easy, but we got it passed. We had to do it. Our farmers are great. So we just got that done. Farmers, ranchers, growers. And we passed historic legislation to combat the opioid crisis. Thank you. Is there any place that's more fun to be than a Trump rally? Is there any? You know, they all said, Mr. President, we loved the tone of your State of the Union speech. Some people said it was a great speech. Some people said, really a great speech. I said, but if I ever did that in El Paso, Texas, it wouldn't work here too well. Do you agree? Nice and calm. Nah, that's not what you're looking for. And this is more fun. This is more fun. And we just signed groundbreaking criminal justice reform into law. Nobody thought that was going to be happening. In my address last week, I asked lawmakers in both parties to cross the aisle and join together for the common good for all Americans. Democrats have to stop being so angry. They're angry. And they've got to start being partners to keep this incredible. Really, look, is this an incredible miracle that's going on? We want to keep it going. Keep it going, and it will keep going. It will keep going. There's so much to celebrate in our country. The economy, the military, so many things we've done scientifically. The world is trying to copy what we've done. They're not going to be able to do it. Not anymore. They were catching up fast. Now they're going in the wrong direction. Wrong direction. Unfortunately, many of the Democrats in Congress responded to my call for bipartisan cooperation by instead choosing hey, look, did you ever see anything? Radical resistance. It's the radical left. But maybe it'll change. Maybe it'll change. It all has to do with 2020 and the election. But I really don't like their policy of taking away your car, of taking away your airplane flights, of let's hop a train to California, of you're not allowed to own cows anymore. You know, there are a lot of problems here. A lot of problems. But nobody's ever had this. And by the way, with us, we handle it. No president should ever have to go through what we've gone through in the first 2 years. It's a hoax. It's a disgrace. And it should never be allowed to happen again. A hoax. Just recently, as an example, Senator Richard Burr from the great state of North Carolina, he's chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and they've been investigating this Russia hoax for 2 years. Think of it. They've interviewed over 200 people. They've studied hundreds of thousands of documents and pages, and Richard just announced that they found no collusion between Donald Trump and Russia. Collusion. The fact is that the real collusion was between Hillary and the Democrats and the other side with Russia. That's where the collusion is. That's starting to make a lot more sense. But that's where the collusion is. with the Democrats and with Russia and with others. And by the way, there's also collusion between the Democrats and the fake news right here. And they know it better than anybody. Too many Democrats are focused on tearing down their opposition instead of building up our country. They're trying to impose some of the most extreme measures and policies ever put forward by our Congress. And by the way, I don't think anybody in this room wants to pay 70, 80, 90, and 95% tax. Does anybody want to pay a 90%? You know, you look at what we've done with jobs, what we've done with the economy, how low your taxes are, the lowest they've been almost from the beginning. Who the hell wants to change what we're doing now? We are a hot, hot country. Last week, they introduced a massive government takeover that would destroy our incredible economic gains. They introduced the so-called Green New Deal. It sounds like a high school term paper that got a low mark. It would shut down American energy, which I don't think the people in Texas are going to be happy with that. It would shut down a little thing called air travel. How do you take a train to Europe? You know, this crazy senator from Hawaii, they said, do you like it? Yes, I like it very much. Oh, really? How are we getting to Hawaii on a train? She didn't think about that one, but she's thinking about it. She'll figure it out. They want to take away your car, reduce the value of your home, and put millions of Americans out of work, spend $100 trillion, which, by the way, there's no such thing as $100 trillion. You have to spend $100 trillion. And remember this, no other country except us is going to do it. That's a little problem, too. While the world's real polluters, like China, would get many of our companies and factories, they just move into China, move into other parts of the world. That's the way the system works. Not going to happen, folks. Don't worry. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. 100 trillion. Let's spend 100 trillion. Let's rip down every building in New York City and rebuild it environmentally slightly better. To pave the way for